Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back again with another video. Today's video is featuring some new items from Trinity Stamps and also from Simon Says Stamp. This is their Sledding Gnomes, which is the Stamptember set from Simon Says Stamp and Trinity. And then I'm also using the North Pole Gnomes. And so we're going to be making two cards with the same technique. If you are not familiar with Stamptember, Stamptember is first come, first serve. So once they sell out, once the stamps and dies sell out, that's it. They will not be replaced. So if you are like, I really love those sledding gnomes, pause the video, go and click the link and get over there and purchase them, because once they're gone, they're gone. You can always come back and watch the video for the technique of how to create that kicked up kind of snow look. I typically, unless a company requests that I receive their Stamptember set, I typically don't work with a whole lot. I do have just a couple this year where companies have requested that they were sent to me. So just like, that's my biggest recommendation is support your designers, click their links because they're doing a lot of work this month. And make sure that if you want it, that you go get it immediately because they will sell out. Now, let's get into it. So I have stamped all of my images. We're going to do the coloring first. And normally I do my backgrounds first and then the coloring. And honestly, that's probably how I would have done it this time if I hadn't had a completely different background originally designed for these cards, but then the colors didn't match. Don't you hate that? Like, I like bright colors, and so that's what I colored my gnomes in, but my backgrounds were more muted, and they just didn't go together. So I just set the backgrounds aside and made different backgrounds. I knew I was going to do the whole, like, kicking up snow concept, but they just, the backgrounds didn't match. And sometimes, you just got to know that you got to switch it up. So let's talk about the coloring. I tried to keep it pretty simple. I used the same color combinations for the majority of the things. So like the sled is the same color in both of them, the gnome sled and Santa's sleigh. Those are the same colors. The hats, the reindeers, they're all the same colors, just because I knew it was already going to be it was just going to be a long video. So all of my gnomes have white beards. Obviously Santa will have a white beard as well. And so what I'm going in and doing first is just laying down my darkest gray. Because we have no other color on the paper, they're going to look super gray. But don't worry, by the time all is said and done, I promise you they will look they will look white. But in order for them to look white, you have to make sure that you leave some white. So if you're very heavy-handed like I am, it may behoove you to start with your lightest color and work out to your darkest, and then from your darkest back into your lightest just to blend everything out. But if you have enough self-control, which for a long time I really didn't, to leave some white areas, then it's perfectly fine to also start with your darkest marker. So the reason I started with the whites, and you'll see that I'll have to go back and do like their hats and things like that. But I started with the whites because if you are coloring the lighter colors after the darker colors, it's really easy to pick up some of the darker color with your lighter colored markers. And then before you know it, you're smearing red or black into your white Santa beard or, their skin tone. So I try to do my lighter colors first and then my darker colors. So colored their little things white, all of the reindeer's feet and all of the gnomes' feet black. Well, their shoes, I should say, not their feet, not their feet. Their feet are not gangrenous. Anyway, so I recently had asked, in a video, we were talking about trends, and I had asked people, like, what trends are you absolutely tired of? And there was, God bless her, there was one lady who was like, I'm so tired of gnomes. And I was like, ruh-roh, I have gnome videos coming up. But they're not for everybody. I think that they're totally adorable. And in fact, this release from Trinity, which I should probably also mention that there is a YouTube hop. So make sure that you're hopping along. I think that will I think maybe I can link it tonight. I think maybe I can link it tonight. But if it's not there when you go to first watch the video at midnight, make sure you check back tomorrow. So that you can hop along, because there's a lot of really, really talented artists. So coloring the hats or the little pom-poms and his gloves, also white. And for that, I'm just adding a little bit of shading kind of to the left and the right-hand side. I did the hats of the reindeers, like the little brim whites as well. I didn't really feel like we needed to leave that in. I chose gold accents for his belt, for the little reindeers' collars, and then also for all of the scrolls on the sleigh and the metal portion of the sled. Would that typically be silver on a regular sled? Yes. Is it okay that I made it gold? Yes, because it's my card and I do what I want to do. So anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, the trends and the gnomes. And I was like, I have gnomes coming. I do. I definitely have gnomes coming. But it's a video hop for this new release. And one of the releases, I'm totally going to use the set, and you're going to have to look at gnomes again. It's like a little gnome nativity set. I think it's adorable. I think it's just darling. So I'm very excited to use that. I will definitely be using that a little bit later in the month. So yeah, that's that. This is a longer one for me, and I was a little bit hesitant because I know during Stamptember there's so much there's like so much done with the same sets. I always try to take the time to do something that I feel is a little bit different, that will kind of set it apart. And I'm sure everybody tries to do that. I mean, honestly, they have such good designers. And I know it's hard to be like inundated with the same kind of stuff, but think about it from a point of view of somebody that is purchasing this set. So let's say you purchase the sledding gnomes, and then after you get it, you have 5, 7, 10 videos of all different cards being made all different ways to garner inspiration from, which I think is pretty cool. There's that many people, but I do understand how it can also be like, if it's not your thing, like, oh, it's everywhere. There was a post that I saw in one of the Facebook groups, like a card making Facebook group, and somebody was like, why is everybody putting out poinsettias and something else? I can't remember what it was. Poinsettias and something. And it was like, oh, well, those are all the Stamptember sets. And it's just that the way that it goes, when you have a lot of people who work for the same company. Now, I don't work for Simon Says Stamp, but I do work for a lot of companies that participate in Stamptember. And so I still, sometimes get the opportunity to use those sets as well. But I do understand how frustrating or disappointing it can be when something you love is out of stock, or maybe you weren't fast enough, or, maybe you didn't see it until, the next day and it's already sold out. I am very empathetic to that. So that is why I always try to include another set that is very similar, to show you the same technique, because it's, to see that you can do it with this other one, and this other one isn't a limited time. This other one, you can get anytime from Trinity. So anywho, so this is we're just going to go through, we're going to do some coloring, and the actual technique that we're doing will be much later in the video. So if that's what you're here for, if you're like, Kelly, I don't care about your jibber jabbering, I just want to hear how to make this snow look like it's being kicked up behind these sleds, then you're going to want to slide on down to the end of the video. Well, not all the way to the end, but pretty close. Maybe the 20-minute mark, maybe around there. I'm not 100% sure because I edited this before I voiced it over. So, yeah, as far as just things going, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, like when you're making cards. Do you sometimes feel like you're just trying to fit in too much? And I don't mean like the making of too many cards. I mean like you're trying to fit too much into one card. Because that's kind of the issue that I ran into today. I was not super productive, because I was trying to do a video for another, actually it's another stamp timber set, honestly. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that and I'm trying to, fit it all in. And I was like totally uninspired, but I knew it was because I was just trying to do too much instead of just sitting down and what came naturally. I felt like the thing that came naturally, like I've done 100 times and who would want to see it again? And like I just said, I try to be different about it. And so I was trying to come up with something, and it really just caused me to just be frozen and not be able to make anything. And then so my girlfriend Dawn was like, do you have anything else that you need to work on? And I was like, yeah, I have this other video that I could do, but it's not due. Like the time frame is not as soon. And she was like, maybe just go on and do it, girl. So that's what I ended up doing. I just ended up moving on to the next thing so that I could, like, I wasn't wasting my whole day and not accomplishing anything. And then I still don't have an idea. I still don't have an idea for those cards neither. But I will have to revisit it. Maybe I just need to sleep. You ever have that where like you just get stuck on something and then you'll be like right on the precipice of falling asleep and all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, I could do XYZ. Sometimes that just works for me. I don't know why. But so I don't think I'm alone. I think people do get stuck, especially if you're a designer who works for other companies and stuff, because you're always trying to, push yourself and learn something new and teach something new, and not do just like the same old all the time. And I think especially for me, since I started doing this as my full-time job, I have experienced that a bit more. I've been card making for 13 years now. I mean, I've always been a crafter, but like card making specifically for 13 years now. And so I think it is kind of easy to just fall into those little ruts. But you certainly don't have to stay there. So what I ended up doing was I just ended up moving on to another project, which was a project that just involved a lot of coloring, which is always my happy place. That's always where I'm happiest to be. And so I just sat and I colored and I was able to accomplish that and at least get that project done. So my whole day wasn't like, rah, rah. And then I may try to knock out the other one tonight. We'll have to see if that works out for me, because tomorrow we haven't even talked about like birthdays or any of that. We haven't even gone back and talked about any of that. I have so many backlog stories to tell y'all, so many. But anyway, for my birthday a few weeks ago, one of the things that I got for my birthday was a pedicure from my mom. And so because she knows me so well, she knows that I will not make the appointment. I will not make the appointment. I will not take the time off work to go and make the appointment. And I think it's been since before we went on vacation that I had a pedicure. And they do need to be done. That is true facts. But so anyway, so she made us an appointment for tomorrow. So we will be going and doing that, which is really great. Like I'll get to spend some, time with my mama. That's not her sitting on my craft room floor sorting my stamps, because she's the best mama ever. And then I'll be able to get my toes done as well. So it'll be a little block out of my day, but that's okay. I think it will be worth it to just, get a little break in there. And then hopefully tomorrow I will be able to, if I can't get it done tonight, I'll be able to do it tomorrow after my pedicure. Maybe inspiration will strike and I will be off to the races. Don't worry, when we do that video, I will let you know which one it was that I was on the struggle bus with, because I believe in being transparent and honest. So that is the game plan for tomorrow. And then what do we have? Do we have anything going on this weekend? Oh, we have a pig roast. One of the guys that, well, I guess technically I still work with him, but we both used to work with him. He used to work where my husband still works and where I used to work. And then when I switched departments, he was at that same department. So we've been friends. And in fact, him and his wife and his kids came for my birthday party. Makes me sound that makes me sound like such a little kid that came over from a birthday party. But no, really, it was wonderful. My husband did a great job throwing it. So here, all the coloring is done. I'm just going in. I'm putting in some little highlights and stuff with my white gel pen, and then I'm going to use the coordinating dies to cut all of these little guys out, and then we're going to work on the background. So, oh, here I forgot to color in the little reins. So I just hit those up super quick. Now, these are lining up the dies. You do have to trim these apart, but no big deal if you have some clippers. Hero Artist, some really great clippers, like the little nippers that you can use to cut them apart. If you're new to crafting and you don't know what those are, I will make sure to link them below because they are really very helpful. And now here is the background. So I have this, it's kind of like a landscape die from Trinity. It's got like some really crazy hills. That's the one we're going to be using. And then I'm also using some masking paper from Gina K. And this is because you can die cut it and then peel off the back. So I wanted this hill, and I wanted it to be a steep hill. Like I wanted them to be flying down this hill and kicking up snow. And so I had to cut it just a little farther over and then just trim out the rest. The hill wasn't quite big enough for me to have it go all the way to the left-hand side of my card. Then the right-hand side of the die I'm going to use for my little Santa. I'm going to peel them off. Like I said, you just peel off the little backer. This is really great masking paper. I like Eclipse as well, but you can't really die cut that because there's no protective backing. So I'm going to put that in place, and then I am going to put it on my sticky mat because I'm going to be using a stencil with it. And then this is just an extra piece of cardstock that I'm using as a protector. So for my background, I am using speckled egg. What happened there, Kelly? Speckled egg and salty ocean. So I'm doing just a very light inking, and then I will do it a little bit heavier once I put my stencil in place. But here's the thing with snowy backgrounds. If you're masking them and creating a background, you have to have color all along the line of the mask because that is how you're going to create your snowy hill. That area is going to be white. So then I used the largest stencil from the Catching Rays stencil set from Trinity. And then again, I just did another layer of the salty ocean and then another layer of the speckled egg. I didn't go over it completely, like it's not a solid color. I wanted there to look, like there was some lighter areas. And I was really happy with the way that it came out. Just a little fun, added something in the background. The other background, I'm not going to use a stencil. I'm just going to use the ink blending. So if the stenciled look is not, I just thought it was like a little bit more whimsical, really. But if that's not your bag, you could definitely just go with a plain sky. And then for the snowy hill, I am going to add a little bit of shading with the speckled egg again and shaded lilac. If you've been around my channel for any amount of time, you know shaded lilac is my favorite snow color. And that's just toward the bottom to, again, just fill in that area. Now, here we have the other mask in place. I know that this looks crazy, like this crazy steep hill, but that's exactly how I wanted it. I thought it was going to be like a funny little scene of like Santa nearly falling out of his sleigh as his little Rudolph reindeer brings him down this crazy steep hill. I thought it was super cute. And then again, I just did the speckled egg, a little bit of salty ocean. And then on the bottom, I will do the speckled egg and the shaded lilac. I just like those colors for snow. You could also maybe do some spun sugar, bring in a little bit of pink. You just really want like some pastel-y kind of colors because it's just adding the shadows. Snow is white. So that just kind of fills up the area and makes it a little bit more interesting to look at. I hope that makes sense. And then so now there's this, it's actually meant to be just like a checkered background, but there's this stencil that has these little pine trees. I'm going to use these little pine trees to create a bit of a background. And really, I'm going to use them to kind of map out my area. So I'm going to put my masks back in place, and then I'm going to go in with some mowed lawn and my little blender buddy, and I taped it all off just so I would have just one tree so that I could place them where I wanted. them. So on this side, on the right hand side, I'm going to do 3 little trees. On the left hand side, I'm going to do 3 larger trees. And in order to make them larger, I'm going to start my stencil up higher. They're going to look like my trees are floating, like floating in midair, these trees. But don't worry, we're going to change it. Like, we're going to fix it. So once I have those down as my base, I'm just going to go in and fill in below with a very similar colored marker. I have 2 Geo7s, and one of them had dried out, and so I was trying to refill it. And that's why you see that one that looks like way, way darker. It's because that's the one I was trying to refill, and it's still a little sticky. I don't know if I'm going to be able to save it or not. Not going to stop me from trying, but I'm not sure if I will or not. And then for these other ones, I'm just going to extend these trees out, leaving kind of a wavy edge. And then that way they will look larger and like they are, a bit closer to us. And then that's all I'm going to do for that background. I'm going to do the same thing over here, but I'm just going to do 3 little trees in the background because the sleigh and my Santa are going to take up the majority of that top left corner. So even if I put trees over there, honestly, you wouldn't even really see them. And then here you'll notice that I picked up the wrong color marker. I picked up a YG17, which is slightly lighter. And then I was like, oh, those aren't blending. That's not right. Got to go back in with that Geo7. So that's a pretty good match for Mowed Lawn, PPS. But anyway, so now I have everything laid out. I'm going to glue it. And then you could pop these up, but I was really worried that the technique wouldn't work as well. So that's why I chose to just glue them flat. And these would be, okay, even without the little kicking up snow technique, okay, these scenes would be darling. Look at how cute those little gnomes are sledding, the little reindeer and stuff. This little reindeer who's kind of like sat on his little tushy, I think he is super cute. Does he have a purpose in my scene other than just being an added element? No, he doesn't, but he was so cute I couldn't leave him behind. No cute reindeer left behind. I just couldn't do it. So here, like, it does look a little crazy because my hill is so steep, but I think once we get the footprints and the snow in, it will make a lot more sense. So for the sledding gnomes, there are no footprints because they're kind of like coming up and over this hill and then kicking back. So what you see me doing here is I'm going in with just some blue violets, some lighter blues or blue greens, and I'm making the tracks from the sled coming through. And that's just 2 kind of parallel lines, really easy to do. And then I'm just kind of blending them out. On the other side, I am going to do the footprints of both reindeer. And this is a technique that I've done before, but it really adds a lot of like fun and whimsy to your scene snow cards. And so I go in with my lightest color, which is a BV00, and then I put down my shadows. I add in a BV02 for me, I just chose the right-hand side because the footprints would not all be the same weight. You step with your heel first, so it's darker there. And then I just blended everything out with a BG10, I think. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I created the little tracks, put a little shadow underneath Santa's sleigh. And then I'm going to do the same thing for those little footprints and also put a little shadow in underneath my reindeer as he's coming down the hill. And then, I told you the 20-minute mark, but is it the 20-minute mark? No, we've already passed it. So now, here's how we're going to do the kicking up snow. We're going to do it a couple of different ways. First of all, I wanted it to be snowing in my scene. So you don't have to do this, okay? You could do just the second way, but I like the shimmery aspect of the snow. So I'm using some perfect pearls mixed with a little bit of water, and I'm just spattering it all over. Yes, that means that it's getting on top of my images. If it was snowing, it would be on top of them. So I want the snow there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a stiff bristled brush and I'm going to mix in a little bit of water with some white acrylic paint. I'm going to take this and I'm going to pounce it all over the back end of my sleigh and my sled. And this is going to start giving the appearance of that snow that's kicked up. The reason that we do it 2 ways is so that it has a different opaqueness. And then to create the actual snow that would be like flying around them, that would be falling, I'm going to use that same mixture and an acrylic block and just flick it against the side. That will flick the snow onto my scene. Now, I'm going to be honest, the snow scene, that kind of snow is actually much more effective in a night scene, but you can still see it in real life. It's just really hard to see on the camera. So once that is done, I'm going in with a little pouncer, and I've pounced some Versamark just in that area. Now, the paint was dry, by the way. You got to wait for the paint to dry. It doesn't take long. And now I'm going to take some puff embossing powder from Hero Arts. I'm going to sprinkle that on the area because it can be haphazard. You know, it's snow kicking up. It's flying all around. And then I'm going to heat it from the back to start to melt it. So that way it holds in place. And then I'm going to go to the front and heat it. Now it's going to be puffed up. It's going to be whiter than the rest of my background. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this one. I, pounced it with the Versamark to give it something to hold on to. And then I sprinkled it on top. I also sprinkled a little bit down by my reindeer's feet, like if he was running and kicking up snow as well. And then again, I'm going to heat it from behind just till I start to see it melting. And then I know that I can bring it to the front without blowing it all over my card. These were super fun. Like, these were super cute to make. I think that you could use these with a lot of different like critters or snow scenes. But in the last thing that I'm going to do, and this is something you can do in case that you miss some snow in an area where you specifically wanted it. You can go in with a white gel pen and just add some dots yourself. It can be totally random. I added some shimmers to the gold parts as well as the hats. I also added it to the big tuft of snow so that it would have some glitters as well. In hindsight, I could have sprinkled some like clear sparkle embossing powder in there as well, and that would have been great to add some shimmer. Just something to keep in mind for the future. I stamped my sentiments in white pigment ink on black. I heat embossed them with some white detail embossing powder, and then I cut them out with their coordinating dies in order to accent them. I love rhinestones, but these I think are really one of my favorites. This color, it's called Reflecting Sky. These are from Trinity Stamps. If you've never used any of their rhinestones, I highly recommend you head over there because they are beautiful. But these are like it's like a beautiful like blue violet color. Some of them are more blue. Some of them are more purple. It was like perfect for my little snow. And then I'm going to use my crystal katana and my glue press to go ahead and put those down. Super quick and easy. And then the last thing I had to do was draw in the reins for the reindeer that Santa has so that they are connected. And I just did that with a fine line pen. And then that's it. The cards are done. So again, if you are interested in this set, pick it up immediately. Don't forget to leave a comment and some love, to participate in the YouTube hop and be entered for the giveaway. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video.